Hi, I'm a sleep scientist. Tonight, we'll drift into the quiet mystery of light. The kind that touches your eyelids even when they're closed. The kind that hums through the universe whether you see it or not. I'd love to know where in the world you're listening and what time it is for you. Let me know in the comments below. I'm always curious where these quiet little science stories are drifting, and if this video will help you when you're there. Now let your body grow heavy, let your breath grow soft, and come with me into the dark before the light. There was a time, if time even means anything yet, when the universe was not lit, not seen, not felt, a dense, silent fog of everything, all at once. No stars, no moon, no eyes to see, and then a whisper, a ripple, a glow. You're floating there, where light is being born. It doesn't look like anything, yet more like a change in the stillness, like the air before a candle is lit. You feel warmth blooming where there should be cold, not heat like fire, but a strange clarity, an invisible brightness. The first light didn't come from a bulb or a torch, it came from chaos, settling ever so slightly. Photons, the particles of light, escaped from their prison. For nearly 380,000 years, the baby universe had kept them locked in, bumping and bouncing between particles like toddlers in a ball pit. But now, you're there the moment the fog lifts. They're free, light, actual light, begins to move. You drift beside it like a companion. You don't need to breathe. You don't need to blink. There's nothing to blink at. No stars yet, no galaxies, just a sea of newborn light streaming outward in all directions. If you hold your hand out well, if you had a hand it wouldn't cast a shadow. Nothing would. There's no surface for it to fall upon. But that doesn't mean light isn't real. It's just... It hasn't been tamed into lamps or lasers or rainbows yet. And yet, it's already the storyteller of the cosmos, the narrator of everything that will ever happen. Even now, light is setting the stage. Somewhere deep inside that growing vastness, the seeds of galaxies are spinning slowly into being, but they're invisible, for now. All you can see, if seeing is the word, is the texture of nothingness being woven by light. Imagine a blanket of photons, stretching, shimmering, whispering into the dark. This moment in cosmic history is called recombination. Not a very sleepy name, is it? But it simply means the particles finally cooled down enough to stop pushing the light away. They recombined into atoms. They let go. You know that feeling when someone finally stops resisting and just sighs. That's what the universe did, and in that sigh, light escaped. Some of those ancient photons you might like this are still around. In fact, they're hitting your skin right now. Not the ones from the sun. Older than that. From the very beginning. They've stretched and cooled and dimmed over 13.8 billion years. And now they arrive as microwave whispers. You can't see them, but your TV antenna used to. That fuzzy static between channels. Some of it was ancient light from the beginning of time. Light travels in straight lines, unless you bend it. We haven't bent it yet in our story, so here you are, side by side with it, watching it race into eternity at 299,792,458 meters per second, give or take a yawn. But the amazing part, light always moves at that exact speed. No matter where it is, no matter who's watching, no matter how you chase it, it never changes. It's like the only kid in class who never forgets their homework. Some say time itself bends around light, that without it, time would just unravel. After all, how would you measure a second without something that moves predictably, and what moves more perfectly than light? When you close your eyes, alpha waves begin to oscillate, like a calm night tide touching the shore of consciousness. Imagine for a moment you're made of light, weightless, ageless, free. You're not burning. You're not warm. You just are, and you always move, never rest, never slow, but you never feel rushed, because for light, time doesn't pass. That's the strangest part of all, from its own perspective. A photon doesn't experience time. It leaves the star and instantaneously arrives at your eye. No journey, no delay. Just there. If light could dream, maybe it would dream of you, looking up, smiling, blinking. You are what gives light a purpose, 'cause without a surface to touch, without a pupil to enter, it just goes on and on. Beautiful, but unseen. Like a love letter lost in the wind. That early universe, remember, it didn't even know what it meant to be seen. It was only when stars formed, billions of years later, that light had something to shine from. And eventually, you. A tiny retina floating on a small blue dot, catching light from places it will never reach. You and the light go way back. Even now, your body reads light like a sacred text. Circadian rhythms, vitamin D, the way your pupils dilate when you see someone you love. All those are conversations with light. It tells your body what time it is. It tells your mind when to sleep. And sometimes, it tells your soul that the world is still beautiful. You stretch a little in your bed. You're still floating in the memory of that first glow. No stars, no fire, just that soft cosmic whisper that said, I am here. And so are you. The beam of light you're riding slips silently through space. It doesn't flicker or falter, it just goes. Always forward, always the same speed. Through emptiness so vast and cold that the idea of cold starts to lose its meaning. There's something strange about how light behaves in a vacuum. You might imagine it would hesitate, like breath caught in your chest. But no, the moment light is freed, it never stops. There's no friction to slow it, no edge of space to crash into, just motion. It's like a thought that never gets interrupted, like a dream that never fades when you wake. Imagine holding a candle in outer space. You might expect it to shine as it does on Earth, but you'd be wrong. There's no oxygen in space, so no flame, no fire. But if you replace that candle with a tiny bulb, sealed and powered, it would glow. And what's fascinating is that light beam would travel forever. No air to scatter it, no clouds to block it. Just pure, silent speed in the dark. You're gliding beside a photon now, let's call it Dusty. Dusty was born in a dying star, flung from a solar surface so hot it makes ovens seem like ice trays. And ever since it's just been traveling, no bathroom breaks, no naps, thousands of years, and still going strong. You look around, the space is black, yes, but not empty. It's full of other Dusties, other light beams, traveling alongside you like sleepy fireflies that forgot to blink. You can't touch them. You can't ride them like a horse. But they're your travel companions now. And though they don't speak, they tell you stories. Some of them are from a lighthouse in 1847. Some are from a camera flash on a birthday party you barely remember. Some are from supernovas so far away they exploded before humans ever stood upright. It's strange to think most of the light in the universe is old and alone, but still it travels. Even if it never lands, even if no one sees it, light doesn't give up. You wonder why. Why keep going if there's no one to notice? Maybe you've asked yourself the same thing on certain nights. But light doesn't stop to ask. It just keeps shining. Not for applause, not for meaning, just because that's what it does. There's something deeply peaceful about that. You drift alongside Dusty a while longer. He doesn't know your name, but that doesn't matter. You're both moving forward at the same speed. That's enough. Then you notice something else strange, but true. Even though you're both traveling at the speed of light, Dusty doesn't experience time. From Dusty's perspective, the moment it left the star is the moment it arrives at your eye. No journey, no wait, just now and now. Which makes you wonder, what is a journey if the traveler doesn't feel it? It's like if your entire life happened in one blink, not fast, just instant. Some physicists say that for a photon, all of space collapses into a point. No distance, no time, just this. You press your fingers against your own heartbeat, now slow, steady. Each beat is a little resistance against time's flow. Each beat says, I am not light, I am human, and I'm still here. But light doesn't pulse. It streams. It doesn't wait. It simply is. When astronauts go to space, they see light differently, without air to scatter it. Shadows become darker. Edges become sharper. Light stops being gentle and becomes surgical, but still beautiful in its own cold way. There's a rumor that in space, the sun doesn't rise, it simply switches on. One moment black, next moment blinding. It makes you think about how much we depend on atmosphere to soften the world. Even light, left undiluted, is too strong. Like some truths. You glance back at Earth, now small, quiet, rotating under the soft bath of sunlight. And suddenly you realize sunlight is 8 minutes old. Every time you lift your face to feel it, you're touching a memory. Light that began its journey minutes ago, across millions of miles, just to reach your skin. And it doesn't even stop. Some of it passes right through you, some bounces off, some very rare, very lucky photons get absorbed and become warmth, or photosynthesis, or vision. You, lying here, are made partly of sunlight. In your bones. In your thoughts. Isn't that odd that what we call you is partly light? You shift your body beneath the covers, not quite asleep yet, but getting there, and your brain begins to quiet. You think about all the things light does without being seen. It guides planes through fog. It bounces off the moon. It powers the photos on your phone and the ones in your memory. Light is never late, never early, always exactly where it needs to be. You sigh. Some part of you envies it. And yet, you have something light doesn't. You feel the passage of time. You ache with beauty. You long for meaning. Maybe that's the trade-off. Maybe stillness is what gives motion its magic. Maybe sleep is your way of becoming, for a little while. A beam of light going nowhere, but going beautifully. You let that thought linger. You let Dusty drift onward, beyond your vision, into deeper space, and you rest. You're lying still now, But your thoughts are beginning to float again, like drifting through a soft current of curiosity. And then you remember something peculiar. Your shadow has a speed limit. It's not something you usually think about. Shadows feel instant. You walk under a street lamp, and there it is, your dark twin, stretched across the pavement. But that illusion of instant response is just that, an illusion. Because even your shadow must obey the speed of light. Every time you move, the outline of you, the part that blocks light, has to wait for light to catch up and repaint the world. It's only 299, 792, 458 meters per second. Only, you imagine, just for fun, waving your hand under the setting sun, and if the sun were 1,000,000 times farther away, your shadow would lag behind, like a badly dubbed movie. The gesture would happen, and the darkness would follow. It's not obvious on Earth, where the distances are small, but across the cosmos, delay is the rule. You think about how sunlight takes 8 minutes to get here. So the sunrise you see isn't now, it's already old. A warm little echo. And it's not just the sun. The light from distant galaxies takes billions of years to reach your eyes. You're not seeing them out there. You're seeing them back then, in a strange way. Your vision is a time machine. You glance at your hand. The light reflecting off it is moving fast, but it's not instantaneous. Even something as small as your fingernail has a delay. Tiny, but real, which means philosophically, at least you never really see anything as it is, only as it was. So every mirror is a memoir. Every glance is history. Even your own face in the bathroom light is slightly behind. It's almost poetic. The faster light moves, the more it reminds you everything is always just out of reach. Not in a sad way, more like a sigh. A gentle reminder that the present is always slipping into the past, and light is the messenger carrying it away. You return to that idea, the speed of light. It's not just about distance, it's about limits. Nothing, as far as we know, can go faster. And that includes your imagination. Even the fastest thought can't outrun a photon. So when scientists realized that nothing can break the speed of light, they weren't being dramatic. They were facing a wall in the fabric of reality. A soft wall, but absolute. You think of it like this: if the universe is a stage, light is the spotlight, and nothing can sneak past its beam. Even if you could build a spaceship that traveled at 99.999% the speed of light, light would still beat you. Effortlessly, casually, like it wasn't even trying. You smile, imagining a little race in space, you in your tiny rocket, light in its photon tracksuit. 3, 2, 1. You never stood a chance. But it's okay, because the speed of light is not just a physical boundary. It's also a spiritual one. It's the universe's way of saying, some things must unfold slowly. You're not meant to see it all at once. Just like dreams, just like love, just like sleep. You roll slightly on your pillow. You wonder how different the world would feel if light moved more slowly. What if it took a full second for your shadow to appear? What if your face appeared in a mirror with a pause? You'd probably live more slowly. You'd learn to wait, and maybe you'd pay more attention. But in the real world, light is fast, fast enough to paint the world in real time, fast enough to carry a whisper from the stars, fast enough to connect you to someone who's already gone. You remember watching old home videos, a loved one, smiling into a grainy lens. That light, those photons hit the camera and were frozen, preserved, and now, decades later, they shine again. Not just memory, not just nostalgia. literal light from another time. You exhale. The ceiling above you is dim now. The room is quieter. Your breath moves in and out like a gentle tide. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you understand something that has no words, that everything you see is already gone, but somehow still here. That light is both a signal and a goodbye, both a beginning and an echo. You trace the edges of your thoughts, like fingers along the rim of a glass. Everything feels soft, stretched, sleepy, and you wonder if nothing moves faster than light. Maybe that's why dreams take their time. Maybe that's why sleep arrives slowly, carefully, like a shadow catching up with you after a long day. You close your eyes. You feel it now. Not darkness, not emptiness, but something waiting. A stillness full of shimmering things, like the pause before the light hits the mirror, like the breath before the photon takes flight. You smile, because even if you fall asleep right now, light will keep going. It will travel the cosmos. It will bounce off moons and mirrors and memories, and one day, some of it might find its way back to you. Now the dream begins to ripple gently, like moonlight on a still pond. You're no longer floating alongside Dusty or drifting through the silent night of space. Now, you're sinking softly into something more fluid, light as wave. It doesn't seem like it should make sense. How can something that moves like a little marble, a photon, also stretch and sway like the sea? And yet, it does. You find yourself inside a wave now, not a water wave, but a light wave. No splashing, no salt, no seagulls, just this slow undulation in the invisible fabric of reality. Up, down, up, down. You realize you're not in the wave so much as you are the wave, a part of it, a small curve in the great swell of movement. It's not violent. It's not loud. It doesn't crash. It hums. You hum with it. It feels like music with no sound, like rhythm with no drum. That's what light does. You realize it moves in patterns, smooth, repeating patterns, like breath, like heartbeat, like sleep itself. It doesn't even need a medium, which is strange. Water waves need water. Sound waves need air. But light waves, they dance through nothing. The vacuum of space, the most empty place you could imagine, is a dance floor for light. You let that settle into you. Imagine movement with no resistance, a ripple with no pond, just motion, and more, and more. The idea used to confuse people. Scientists spent centuries debating what light was, a wave, a particle, something else entirely. They called it the ether. Long ago, a mysterious substance that was supposed to fill all space, to carry light like wind carries scent. But it turned out, light didn't need help. It was its own thing. Wave and not wave. Thing and not quite thing. You gently turn your head on the pillow, as if trying to see both at once. Waves have frequency. They have wavelength, like colors, like sound. You remember standing on the beach one afternoon, watching sunlight glitter on the ocean, that shimmer, that sparkle. It's light waves bouncing off waves, two different dances intersecting, and now you're seeing it from inside. The wave you're part of is invisible, but it has shape. It wiggles. It pulses, sometimes wide and lazy, like red light, sometimes tight and fast, like violet. The difference between red and blue isn't the light itself, just how fast it dances. That's all color is. That, and your brain's lovely ability to care. You realize you can drift forward or backward in this wave, stretching out, slowing down. And as you do, something else begins to emerge: heat. Yes, light is energy. And when the wave's slow enough, we call it infrared. You can't see it, but you can feel it on your cheek when the sun brushes past, on your toes under a warm blanket. That's light, too, just softer, older, sleepier. You feel a tickle of it now, heat without touch, a cozy hush, like the feeling of fresh laundry, or a cat settling beside you. Infrared light, the warm part of the rainbow you can't see. You drift further, deeper, and the waves slow even more. Now you're in the microwave part of the spectrum, the kind that heats your popcorn and whispers from the Big Bang. You smile. Even the universe likes snacks and stories. Further still, the waves become radio, miles long, wide, lazy loops that pass through walls and cities and rain, light that becomes communication, light that talks. You feel like you're in a dream, tuning an invisible radio dial, spinning through the spectrum of existence. Each turn a different kind of wave, each wave a different way of being light. And just like that, you realize something. You're still in the same field. It's all the same light, from gamma rays to X-rays to the soft glow of a nightlight. It's all one thing. Only the wave changes. That makes you think of moods, of how you shift. Same person, different wavelength. Some nights you shine bright and short, like ultraviolet sharp, intense, quick to burn. Other nights, you're slow and gentle like a radio wave, vast, patient, quiet. And tonight, you're somewhere in between, maybe soft green light, the middle of the rainbow, balanced, breathing. You let the thought spread, warm and soft across your chest, you floating in light, you being light, not watching it, not thinking about it, just existing as a ripple. The line between you and the wave blurs. You are frequency. You are form. You are a gentle curve in the fabric of space. And the best part, you're not alone. Every light wave overlaps another. They interfere. They add. They cancel. They shape each other's paths. That's what light does. Yeah. And that's what we do too. You sigh, a long one, like a wave cresting and falling. The wave keeps moving, and you keep drifting. And if you fall asleep now, well, the light will keep waving for you. You're still riding the wave, swaying in its invisible rhythm. When something peculiar begins to happen, the wave hesitates. It flickers. It pauses mid-sway, as if caught between two decisions. And then it does something that makes no sense at all. It becomes a dot, a point, a speck, a particle. Wait, what? How can something be a wave and a particle? You blink though your eyes are closed and try to catch up. One moment you were swaying like a lullaby, and the next, you're watching a photon just one land gently on a screen. Tiny, discreet, definite. You're inside one of the strangest experiments ever devised, the double slit. You don't need to know the whole setup. Just this light is sent through two narrow slits, and on the wall behind, it leaves a pattern. Sometimes it makes stripes, like waves overlapping. Other times, it makes dots like tiny balls hitting a target. But here's the spooky part. When no one is watching, the light behaves like a wave. It interferes with itself. It's graceful, but the moment you observe it, really observe it, it becomes a particle. The wave collapses. The mystery tightens, like a cat that only climbs out of the box when you're not looking. You lie there, deeply wrapped in this mystery. You imagine the photons like little performers on stage, deciding their role only once the audience sits down. You whisper, are you a wave or a particle, and the photon, if it could speak, might smirk and say, depends. Who's asking? It sounds like a joke, but it's real. Scientists have tried to outsmart it. They've set up detectors, turned them off, turned them back on, and still, light refuses to be consistent. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's neither. Sometimes it's something in between. You picture a light beam entering the slits. You watch it carefully, and suddenly, it becomes shy. It snaps into a single path, like a child caught stealing cookies. But if you don't watch it, if you just let it do its thing, it spreads out, ripples, flows, interferes with itself, as if it's saying I could go left, or right, or both, or neither, or everywhere. But you'll never really know. You exhale through your nose, quietly. It's the kind of idea that tickles your thoughts, but never quite settles. You remember that awkward feeling of being watched, even when no one's in the room. Maybe photons feel that too. You imagine them lining up backstage before the big performance. Okay, guys, are we doing waves or particles tonight? Someone shrugs. Let's wait and see if anyone's paying attention. You laugh, just once, softly, because deep down, you know it isn't just about photons. You do the same thing. When no one's looking, you're complex, fluid. You dream in wide loops and feel things you can't explain. But when someone stares, when the world expects a performance, you tighten, you pick a role, you become a particle, definite, predictable, palatable. It's not a fault. It's just how the universe seems to work. But oh, how freeing it would be to stay in wave mode. Even when someone's watching. You roll to your side. The pillow is cool, the blanket warm, the world is quiet. You are both watched and unwatched, both wave and particle. You stretch your toes. Even they don't know which version of you they belong to right now. And that's okay. Because what light teaches us, in its flickering indecision, is that truth is not always solid. Sometimes truth is probability, a haze of possibilities, a maybe, and that's enough. You imagine again that glowing photon, caught between two slits. It chooses both, until it can't, until it must land. Then it chooses one, but the choice was always delayed. Isn't that what sleep is like? You wander through options. You drift. You hover between memory and dream, until finally, you fall into one. Maybe consciousness itself is like light, both particle and wave, both now and not yet, both I'm here and maybe I'm imagining this. You smile again, or maybe that was just your dream body doing it. Either way, it felt good. There's no need to understand the whole mystery. Just float in it. Let the photon decide what it wants to be. Let you decide what you want to be. Tomorrow, Bauman, you can be a particle again. Precise, efficient, focused. But tonight, you are a wave. You are sleep in motion. You are not meant to land. You are everything light is when no one is watching. And no one is watching. Just you, the quiet, and the shimmer of what might be. The flickering fades now. The dots and waves melt back into stillness. You're floating again, the way light floats, untethered by weight, unbothered by shape. And just when you think the mystery couldn't get stranger, you look around and realize you're inside a rainbow. Not the kind that arches over a field, not one made by raindrops. This is different. This one moves. It pulses. It breathes. It's a tunnel of light. And each color hums at a different frequency. Red at one end, stretching long and low. Violet at the other, tight and trembling. And somewhere in the middle you drift past orange, yellow, green. Each one more than a color, it's a vibration. You feel it in your chest like soft music. Not heard, but known. You realize now color isn't a thing, it's a reaction. Light doesn't carry color, it carries energy. Your eyes, your brain, your mysterious little head, they interpret the wavelengths as color. In truth, the world has no color. Only you do. You chuckle, lightly. So every sunset, every painting, every slice of watermelon wasn't really red. It was just your brain saying, "Ah, yes, this wavelength feels warm. Let's call it red." You roll onto your back again. The image of the rainbow lingers, and it occurs to you, colors aren't fixed. A bee doesn't see red. To a bee, flowers shimmer in ultraviolet, a secret glow you'll never witness. A snake sees heat infrared. A shrimp, oddly enough, sees 12 types of color where you see just 3. That shrimp might look at a plain gray rock and gasp, "How beautiful," you'll never know what it sees. And yet, it's all just light. You close your eyes and picture the world through 1,000 different lenses. A sky painted in unseen hues, a forest glittering in shades you don't have names for. It makes your own little slice of the spectrum feel precious. Not incomplete, just one thread in a great invisible tapestry. You remember something from childhood, those spinning toy discs with color filters. You'd hold them up to the light, twist them slowly, and the world would change. Blue became purple. Green turned to gold. It felt like magic, but really, it was just your brain adapting, reshaping what light was telling you. Even now, that's what your eyes are doing. The lamp in your room glows orange because it's sending warmer light. Your phone screen glows blue because it's vibrating faster. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It just says, "Here's some color. Let's call it something." The way color blends is another illusion. Red and green make yellow. Not really. It's just your eyes, tugged in 2 directions at once, splitting the difference. Isn't that how most of life works? You feel more than one thing, and your mind tries to make a middle. Joy and sorrow, nostalgia. Hope and fear, anticipation. The world paints itself in contradictions, and you blend them into beauty. You're thinking again of the rainbow, the real kind, the one in the sky. It's not an object. It's not out there. It's an event, a perspective, a phenomenon that only happens between you and the light. If someone stands a few meters away, they're seeing a different rainbow. Not because the rainbow moved, but because their eyes are in a different position. So there is no single rainbow, only an infinite collection of possible ones, depending on who's watching, like a memory, or a truth, or a dream. You stretch again. You let your fingertips explore the air, like you're brushing through waves of invisible color. And maybe you are. Your room is full of light you can't see, infrared heat from your body. microwaves from the router, faint photons from distant stars sneaking in through the window. You're swimming in a sea of unseen color, whether you notice or not. And the colors you do see, they're the rare few that manage to catch your attention. The chosen ones. That feels kind of special. You feel it again, the strange warmth that comes from realizing how little we actually perceive, and how beautiful that little bit is. You think of people you love, how they feel like warm colors, how their presence can change the hue of a whole day. Some days you're deep blue, others you're soft gold, and some days you're all of them. You don't need to pick just one. Light didn't. Light gave you the whole spectrum and said, "Here, make meaning." You nestle deeper under the blanket now. You feel yourself sliding into that in-between state, not quite dreaming, not quite awake. Maybe this is what violet feels like, the color that hums so fast, it nearly becomes invisible. You let it carry you. You dissolve into it. You let go. And somewhere in the back of your mind, just before the last thought fades, you wonder if colors are just costumes for light. What's underneath? And then you stop asking, and just sleep. Somewhere far away, or maybe very close, a photon begins a journey. It bursts free from the heart of a star, slips through layers of atomic fire, and finally, escapes. And then it waits, because that single photon, that beam of sunshine, is not on a direct flight to your skin. Not even close. You're floating now, cozy and slow, beside a tiny particle that will travel a very long road. You call it sunlight. But its story began over 1,000,000 years ago. Let's drift backwards, at the core of the sun, where pressures are immense and temperatures are wild beyond wild. Nuclear fusion creates light, not soft golden beams, yet just raw, blinding energy. Photons, born in chaos, and you, sleepy traveler, are watching them. They don't shoot out instantly. They bounce. One photon can ricochet, scatter, change directions over and over and over thousands, millions, trillions of times, trying to escape the thick plasma inside the sun. It's like trying to swim through a crowd that never stops moving. If that photon could speak, it might say, "I've been trying to leave this place for 1,000,000 years." And yet, it's patient. Because eventually, finally, it reaches the surface. And the moment it does, freedom. It escapes in a straight line, flying through space at the speed of light, aimed blindly in every direction. Some miss everything. Some hit Jupiter. Some end up absorbed by comets or dust. But a few, just a precious few, travel all the way to you. You stretch your fingers. One of them might be catching that ancient light right now. A photon born before the first human civilizations. A traveler who waited 1,000,000 years just to brush your cheek. You smile, because in that light is not just heat, there is history. You imagine holding out your hand in space, cupping it gently, and catching a ray of sunlight like it's a firefly. You bring it close. It doesn't flicker. It doesn't speak. But it is speaking. It tells you that the world is still alive, still burning, still radiant. You let your thoughts float back to Earth, where sunlight wraps the planet like a silk scarf. Everything you love, everything that grows trees, birds, coffee beans, skin cells. It all begins with that same light. Photosynthesis, warmth, color. Sunlight is the match that lit life. Even your own body stores it. In sugars, in warmth, in smiles. You are sunlight, processed and wrapped in skin, which means, in a quiet, cosmic way, you're a piece of the sun, resting for a while on Earth. You remember that odd fact when you close your eyes, your brain still sees light. Why? Because your eyes don't turn off. They wait. They flicker. Even behind your eyelids, they hunger for photons. And when there are none, your brain sometimes makes its own. Ever see those tiny twinkling patterns when your eyes are closed? That's your mind, simulating the show, a leftover longing for sunlight. You turn on your side. You feel the warmth of your blanket. You imagine it as trapped light sunbeams that hit the earth, got woven into cotton, and are now holding you. Everything is made of borrowed photons. You think of people again. How warmth isn't always heat. Sometimes warmth is presence. Sometimes it's a memory. Sometimes it's a voice, softly reading you a science story while you fall asleep. You drift back to the sun now, but not to the light escaping. This time, you move inward, toward the core, toward that pressurized womb where energy is born. It's strange but peaceful. You expect fire, maybe even violence, but instead, you find rhythm. The sun pulses. It sings. There's a science called helioseismology, studying the music of the sun. It hums with deep, slow waves. 1,000,000 years before the light touches your skin, the sun was already singing your arrival. You let that sink in. The warmth you feel now is the echo of a 1,000,000-year journey, not rushed, not random, just faithful. A soft kind of faith, that if it keeps shining, someone might notice. And maybe someone like you just did. You nestle deeper into your bed. Your thoughts are dimming now. But one last idea flickers that light, for all its speed. Begins in stillness, in waiting, in persistence. And maybe you do, too. So if tonight feels slow, if your dreams feel late arriving, remember the photon and wait with it. The sunlight lingers in your mind, gently fading like warmth after a deep breath. Now you're sitting at a small table. There's a cup of tea in your hand. Steam curls upward, and you watch the way light plays across the surface. It's such a tiny thing, the shimmer on liquid, but somehow it holds the whole universe. This is what reflection is. Not just in mirrors or still ponds, but in everything that light touches and returns from. You tilt the cup. The light bends, then bounces. And in that moment, you're reminded every glint, every shine, every sparkle is light's way of showing you something about the world. But it only works if there's a surface. Light can travel for billions of years and reveal nothing until it finds something to bounce off. A rock, a raindrop, a wrinkle in a teacup. Reflection isn't just about seeing. It's about meeting where light and object come together to make meaning. And you, sitting here, are surrounded by these meetings. Your phone screen, your windows, even your own eyes. You glance at your tea again, where a tiny ripple shifts the light just so. In that flicker, you see the window behind you, the trees outside. The room folds into the cup. It's a quiet reminder that light is always telling stories, even when you're not listening. You take a slow sip, the warmth on your lips. That's infrared light, heat energy radiating through molecules, not visible, but absolutely real. Then you set the cup down, and something else catches your attention. The spoon, a little bent where it dips into the tea. Except, it's not really bent. The light is… You chuckle softly. Of course it is. That old magic trick, refraction. Light changes speed when it moves through different materials: air, water, glass. And when it slows down, it bends. Like a traveler taking a detour, or a dream changing direction. You remember watching sunlight spill into a pool, how it rippled into 1,000 bright fingers, touching the tiles below. You never thought about how light has to slow down to make that happen. It's still fast. Of course, faster than anything else. But in water, it hesitates. That hesitation, that's refraction. And in that pause, beauty is born. It makes rainbows from raindrops. Diamonds sparkle because of it. Even your glasses and camera lenses rely on it to focus the world just right. You sit back a little and look toward the window. Outside, there's a puddle. The sun is low, and the reflection is golden. But just around the edge, a faint arc. A rainbow. Not full, not bright, but there. You think about how many things have to happen for a rainbow to form. The light has to hit the drop at just the right angle. It has to slow, bend, bounce, bend again, and finally escape. Only then does it fan out into color. Only then can you see it. That's the nature of light. It works hard in silence, just to bring you a moment of awe. You feel it again, the stillness, that hum of something doing its job quietly, behind the scenes. Your brain is part of that, too. Photons enter your eyes, strike the retina, convert to electric signals, travel down neurons. Also, you can see a glint on a spoon. You smile. You think of a friend once telling you that nothing is truly seen without love. And maybe they were right, because reflection is a partnership. Light arrives, the world responds, but it only becomes meaning when you notice. You settle deeper under the blanket now. The room is dimmer. Your tea is long gone, but the shimmer lingers in your thoughts. You imagine walking through a hall of mirrors, not the funhouse kind, but gentle ones. Each reflection is slower, softer. You look into them and see not just your face, but moments, places you've been, people you've missed, the way sunlight used to hit the floor of your childhood bedroom. All of it carried on light, stored, reflected, kept. You realize that memories are a kind of reflection, too. Not exact, not perfect, but meaningful, bent slightly by emotion, like light through water. You blink. The ceiling above you reflects almost nothing now, just a soft dullness. Still, it's enough. You imagine the world going dark, not in a frightening way, but like the moment right before sleep. Even in darkness, your body remembers light. Your skin knows warmth. Your mind still plays flickers of old glints and glows. And somewhere out there, light is still traveling, still bouncing, still shimmering off a teacup you left in the sink. You breathe, soft in, softer out, and you let yourself reflect, just like the tea, the day, the thoughts, the light. They bend and ripple gently within you until everything is still, until sleep arrives, like a beam of light slowing through glass. You're looking at yourself now, not in the dreamlike sense, not symbolically, just literally. You're standing in front of a mirror. But something's different tonight. The reflection isn't just bouncing light, it's whispering. You tilt your head. Your reflection does too. You raise your hand. It follows. And then you remember what you're seeing isn't you, not really. It's the light that left your body a fraction of a moment ago, hit the mirror, and returned to your eyes. That journey, though quick, is still real. Even the smallest reflection is a conversation between photons and perception. And mirrors, they don't just return images, they return direction. Each photon obeys the simplest law: angle in, angle out. Like a tiny billiard ball, it strikes the surface and bounces off. You look at yourself again. That is not your soul. It's geometry, elegant, simple geometry, and yet it feels intimate. Because seeing yourself reflected is one of the most ancient experiences in human life. Puddles, polished stones, quiet lakes, light returning home. You reach out and touch the glass. It's cool, firm, but thin. And then you imagine what light feels on the other side. It doesn't think, it doesn't see, it just moves. But if it could think, what would it make of you? A shape, a shadow, a soft warmth that sent it on a journey. You smile, because here's a lovely thing: light leaves you and returns to you at nearly the same moment. You don't chase it, you don't command it, you just exist, and it responds. It's loyal, in a way. Every glint in someone's eyes as they look at you, light that bounced off your face and found them. You are, without even trying, constantly being seen. And not just by others, by photons, every second. Light is learning you. You look at your reflection again. And this time it feels less precise, a little softer, more like a memory than a photograph. You remember looking into a mirror as a child, noticing your own eyes, trying to understand if the person in there was real. Maybe you never stopped asking that question. Maybe light never stopped answering. You lie back down now, away from the mirror, but the reflection remains in your mind. Light doesn't need to stay visible to stay real. It lives in memory, in trace, in warmth. You think about how mirrors work best when they're flat, but the world is full of imperfect mirrors, curved ones, wavy ones, funhouse ones, like the surface of water, always shifting. You remember the time you saw your reflection in a lake. It wasn't exact, but it felt truer somehow, because it was living, changing, just like you. You are not a flat reflection. You are rippling, and light still loves to dance across your surface, even in the dark, even in sleep. Your mind drifts now to the retina, the soft, living mirror at the back of your eye. When light hits it, it's no longer just bouncing. It's entering, becoming part of you. Photons trigger cells, rods, and cones that send signals to your brain. And then, vision. But again, it's not seeing what's there. It's seeing what was there, a fraction of a moment ago, like everything in life. Sight is a memory dressed as now, and it happens so quickly, so constantly, that we forget how strange it is. You don't feel the photons entering your eyes, but they do, quietly, faithfully, like messages from the world. You pull your blanket higher. Even with your eyes closed, your body feels their absence. Darkness isn't the opposite of light. It's the place where light might still arrive, and sometimes it does. like when someone turns on a lamp in another room and it spills softly under the door, or the gentle blue glow of your phone in the distance, or a memory so bright it casts a glow behind your eyelids. You smile again, sleepily, because now you understand something. Light isn't just for seeing, it's for remembering. And mirrors aren't just glass. They're a promise that what leaves you might come back, that what's reflected is real. You drift off now, imagining yourself not as a body, but as a soft surface for light to touch, like a lake, like a mirror, like the moon. And somewhere, a photon begins its short, lovely trip, from you to the mirror and back, over and over, in silence. Just to say I see you. You're inside a prism now, not holding it, not studying it. You are inside it, and it feels slow, as if the light around you is hesitating, bending, reconsidering. This isn't like floating in space, where photons shoot past in perfect straight lines. Here, light slows down. It bends. It splits. You see yourself refracted, fragmented into 100 versions, each a different hue, not broken, just sorted. It's peaceful in here. You reach out, and your hand seems to stretch through colors first red, then orange, then yellow, until the tips of your fingers dissolve into violet. Light bends in glass. You know that. It bends because it slows, and it slows because the glass holds it just enough to stir up a little resistance. You think of all the times you have slowed. Grief, joy, fatigue, awe. All moments when the straight path bent, and in that bend something beautiful happened. That's what rainbows are, after all. Not painted arcs in the sky, but slowed light. Light paused. Light split into its intentions. You remember the raindrop from earlier, the one that shimmered at your window. You imagine a whole sky of them now, millions of tiny lenses, each bending light in its own way. You think how many raindrops are needed for a rainbow. The answer is gentle, just enough. Not all, just some. Because not every photon has to split to create beauty. Just a few. And you, well, you don't need to split every part of yourself to be seen. Just let a little bit bend. That's enough. You float deeper into the prism. Now you see light, not just as color, but as path. Some beams go straight through. Others angle sharply. Some bounce inside the glass, trapped for a while, before finally slipping out again. You find yourself in one of those beams. It enters the glass, bounces once, twice, 3 times. You feel the hesitation, the waiting, the decision-making of motion, and then release. Out it goes, changed but whole. There's something comforting in that. To know that even light gets stuck sometimes. That even something so fast, so pure, has moments of delay. It reminds you being slowed isn't failure. It's part of the journey. You think of fiber optics, tiny glass threads that guide light, bouncing it inside over and over until it reaches the end. Your internet, your phone calls, your midnight lullabies from faraway voices, they're all carried on these bouncing photons. They're not frustrated by delay. They're focused. Each reflection is a choice, a path, a whisper saying, not yet, not here, try again. And that's okay. You sigh. You picture your own life as a path of light bending, slowing, reflecting, splitting. Not random, not perfect, but beautiful. There's a trick with prisms when the light enters at just the right angle. It undergoes total internal reflection. It doesn't leave. It stays. It keeps bouncing, gliding along the walls. You imagine that sensation now. Not being trapped, but held. Light resting inside the crystal, waiting for its moment to emerge. Maybe you've had seasons like that. Hidden, quiet, still inside the prism, waiting. And when you did emerge, you didn't come out the same. You came out split into colors, into music, into softness, into the kind of beauty only time can shape. You smile, thinking how some people are prisms too. They take in the bright, white world and return it in color. Artists, children, you sometimes. When you let yourself feel without filters, you remember the feeling of sunlight through stained glass, how it paints the floor in fragments, how something rigid can still make room for color. You are that too. Light passes through you and comes out changed. In your words, in your silences, in the way you make tea for someone who didn't ask. You shift a little now, back under your blanket, still inside this quiet prism of thought. Your breath is slow. The world is bending, softening, and somewhere, outside your window, a star sends a photon. It will travel through nothing for years. Then, perhaps, through a telescope. Then through a lens. Then a pupil. And finally, it will meet your mind. Bent, delayed, refracted, but real. You close your eyes again. You don't need to see the rainbow to believe it's there. You just need to trust the bend. Because the most beautiful colors come from slowing down. And sleep is the moment when your light pauses, splits gently, and becomes something softer, something worth dreaming. You're holding a laser now, not in a lab, not in a classroom, just in your hand, quietly, gently, like a pen made of light. It hums not loud, not dangerous, just a quiet pulse. A line, not a glow, and when you press the button, it shoots forward, straight, focused, unwavering. It doesn't scatter. It doesn't dance like candlelight or flicker like fire. It's clean. It's narrow. It knows exactly where it's going. And somehow, that's comforting. Because most light is a bit chaotic, spreading out in all directions, bouncing around like a happy accident. But laser light, it's organized. Every photon moving in step, like dancers in a silent ballet. Same frequency, same direction, same phase. It's called coherence. You whisper the word coherence. Feels good, doesn't it? Like a breath that doesn't break halfway. Like a thought that finishes cleanly. Like a path you don't have to question. You wave the beam across the wall. It doesn't light the room, it carves through it. Like a thread through fabric. Like focus in a world of distraction. Lasers are strange that way. They're light, but not light as usual. They're like the monks of the photon world, disciplined, precise, devoted to one mission. And you, tonight, are sitting with one. You remember laser pointers from school, from star shows, from late-night mischief aimed at ceilings and cats. But lasers are so much more than toys. They carry music through fibers. They cut through steel. They scan your groceries. They correct your eyes. Light that heals, plus light that slices. Light that carries truth through glass. You roll the beam across your palm and imagine what it would be like to be a laser. to have all your energy focused, to go in one direction without losing yourself along the way, but also to be rigid, predictable. Lasers can't adapt. They're locked in their path. And you're not a laser. You're starlight. You're sunlight. You're the gleam off a spoon, the bend in a rainbow, the flicker on a puddle. But still, sometimes you long for coherence. Those rare moments in life when your thoughts, your breath, your body, all move as one. A walk without noise. A sentence that says exactly what you meant. A night where sleep comes without struggle. Lasers remind you that focus isn't always about speed. It's about alignment. You think of how hard that is, sometimes. Your mind scatters. Your heart pulls in one direction, your body in another. And the world asks you to stay aligned. But light forgives, and so can you. You lift the laser again and point it at a crystal on the table. The beam enters and splits, not into colors but into copies. Each new path, still sharp, still coherent, just, now there are many. You smile. Because even the most focused light can multiply. Even precision can become poetry. You remember holograms, now those shimmering images made from lasers. They're not just pictures. They're interference patterns, records of how light was. A hologram isn't flat. It holds depth. It contains every angle, every flicker, every whisper of the original beam, like memory, like dream. You press your hand flat against your chest. You wonder what kind of interference patterns live inside you. The way a song wraps around a goodbye. The way a face flickers behind closed eyes. All light. All recorded. All still shimmering. Somewhere. You shift under the blanket. The room is still. But you can almost feel a beam of light passing through it straight. Quiet. Determined. You imagine your breath as a laser now. Smooth. Focused. A soft inhale, a slower exhale, each one tracing the line between now and sleep. You don't need perfect coherence to rest. You just need this moment, a little stillness, a little light, a gentle hum that says you're on the right path. And if you stray, that's okay too. Even lasers bounce sometimes. Even the straightest line finds a curve. You close your eyes. The world narrows into something simple, soft, focused, like a beam of light sent just to find you. And it has. Tonight, you're not moving. You're not flying through space with photons. You're not refracting through a prism. You're not floating in color. You're still. And yet you're seeing. Isn't that strange? Even in this stillness, light keeps pouring into you, through your closed eyelids, through the dark. Because light doesn't need permission. It simply arrives. But what if you didn't have eyes? What if you had to see with your skin or your tongue? What if sight wasn't a privilege of pupils, but a puzzle solved in different ways? You begin to drift, gently, into the vision of other creatures. You become a bee. Suddenly, the world explodes into ultraviolet. What was once a simple yellow flower is now a glowing bullseye. Patterns invisible to human eyes appear as radiant highways, guiding you to pollen. You sip, you buzz, you glow, and then spawn you're someone else. A snake. This time. The night is cool, but the air shimmers with heat. You don't see light. You feel it, curling around warm bodies. Rodents hiding in grass. Birds sleeping in trees. Infrared whispers. Every shape is outlined not by edges, but by temperature. You strike not from sight, but from light's heat. A different language, but still light. You slip again. Now you're underwater. And you are, of all things, a mantis shrimp. This little creature has eyes that make yours look like sketches. You can see 12 or more color channels far beyond the simple red, green, and blue. To a mantis shrimp, a pebble might sparkle like a firework. A leaf might be layered with secret signs. You smile at the thought. Maybe they look at us and wonder how we survive in such dullness. But you're not jealous. Because the truth is, you do see, with more than just your eyes. With your skin. You feel the warmth of sunlight on a cold morning. With your ears. You notice how light shapes the world, casting shadows that sound like footsteps on tile. And with your heart. You recognize the glow in someone else's eyes and know what it means. You return now to your own vision. Back in bed. Back in your body. Your eyes are closed. And yet, you see. Those slow waves, the gentle electric rhythms of your brain, they hum even now. Alpha waves, theta waves, dream waves, all shaped, over a lifetime, by light. Because your body has never known a world without it. From your first moment blinking into a hospital ceiling light, to now drifting between thought and sleep, light has guided you. Your sleep cycle governed by light. Your hormones timed by the sun. You are a solar creature, orbiting in miniature. You think now of people who live in darkness, cave-dwelling fish with no eyes, or humans born without sight, who learn to read the air in other ways. They still understand light. They feel its warmth. They trust its rhythm. Because light is not just for seeing, it's for knowing. And sometimes, what's known best can't be seen at all. You roll slowly onto your side. The room glows faintly now, maybe from a street lamp, or the soft hum of a digital clock. But your body is calm. Your eyes don't search. And in this darkness, your mind begins to notice something else, that even thoughts cast shadows, that even memories shine. You think of someone's smile. That smile is made of light-curved photons bouncing off lips, caught by your eye, translated by your mind into something soft and meaningful. But the real warmth of it that lives in you now, long after the light faded. You realize that vision isn't always now. Sometimes it's then. Sometimes it's what was. Like the light from a distant star long gone, still seen. You wonder how many things you've seen long after they've passed, and how many you feel even when they're no longer visible. You breathe, slow, steady. You don't need to chase light anymore tonight. You are full of it. The memories, the glances, the warmth on your skin. It all lives in you. And now, with your eyes closed, you see something different. Not with sight, but with stillness. And it's enough. You're floating again. But this time, it's not through waves or colors or prisms. It's through darkness. Not empty. Not frightening. Just still. And in this stillness, there's something waiting. Something faint. Something soft. You begin to sense it before you see it. A glow. It doesn't move quickly. It doesn't shine like a spotlight or flicker like a flame. It pulses. Slow. Steady. Ancient. You drift closer. And now you see it more clearly. It's the center of a galaxy. A soft spiral of stars. Dust. Light. Billions of suns circling like a quiet whirlpool. And there, tucked in the heart, is something stranger still, a black hole. You expect darkness, and yes, it's there. But it's not just absence, it's gravity, curled so tightly it holds even light. You're near the event horizon now, the edge beyond which nothing returns. You pause. Here, light doesn't pass. It gets pulled, stretched, slowed, until it fades into silence. But what fascinates you most isn't the hole itself. It's the ring around it. A halo, the accretion disk, light, twisted and bent around the edge, caught in orbit, trapped in an eternal slingshot, circling faster than you can imagine. And some of it escapes. You didn't expect that. But it's true under certain conditions. Light can skim the edge and slingshot outward, bent but free. That's how we know black holes are there. Not by what we see, but by the light that barely escapes. You lie still, letting that thought settle. That even in the strongest gravity, some light gets away. Not all, but some. You smile, because you've felt that, too. Those heavy days when everything seems to pull you inward, when the gravity of worry, or memory, or fatigue threatens to swallow every bit of brightness. But even then, some part of you escapes. A laugh, a glance, a moment of music through the fog, a photon, light, escaping. It's poetic, sure, but also real. Astronomers call it gravitational lensing, when massive objects bend light around them. Like glass warps a view. A black hole bends space so much that even the path of light curves. You imagine walking through such a field. You'd look up and see your own back, because light would bend in a full circle, returning to you from the wrong direction. That's not metaphor. That's physics. And yet, it feels like metaphor. How many times have your own thoughts curved, circled back, returned to you from strange angles? How often has a memory shown up unexpectedly? Wearing a different face, light is patient. It doesn't resist being bent. It just follows the path it's given. And still it reveals. That's how we photograph black holes, not by looking at them, but by looking at what they do to the light around them. You glance inward now, not physically, just emotionally. And you wonder, what does your light bend around? What pulls at you with silent gravity? Grief, longing, unfinished questions. You don't need to name them. You just need to know your light still travels, even if it bends, even if it wobbles, even if it takes the long way. It's still you, moving, still bringing illumination, even around the darkest centers. You imagine the black hole one last time, not as a monster, but as a mirror. It doesn't consume out of cruelty. It simply is, and light doesn't fear it. It plays. It dances. It traces the edge, leaving behind elegant trails. You wonder if the same is true for you, that even your darkest parts might be circled by beauty, not ignored, not denied, just seen in the glow of the things that survived, the photons that escaped. You drift again, now, away from the galaxy's center, the stars softening into haze. The black hole remains behind you, still spinning, still pulling. But you are moving on, carried by light that chose a different path, toward open space, toward quieter skies, toward sleep. You're drifting into emptiness now. Not the kind that feels lonely, the kind that feels vast. You're in the space between stars, between galaxies, a stretch of universe so silent, so dark, It feels like time forgot to fill it in. No sounds, no sparks, no glowing planets, just distance. And still, light is here, faint, thin, tired, but here. Some of it is background light, cosmic whispers left over from the beginning of everything. You can't see it with your eyes, but you feel its age, like dust floating through the corners of an old room. This is the cosmic microwave background, radiation from the Big Bang, still echoing across the sky. You breathe in. It's strange to think that even nothingness glows. Even silence has a flicker. Even coldness remembers warmth. You drift onward. Now the stars are so far behind you. They're just dots. And the galaxies, once swirling with drama, are faint smudges. Light has traveled billions of years to reach this point, this quiet stretch where you are now. And still, it keeps going. You imagine riding one of those ancient photons. Not a laser, not a sunbeam. Just a thread of old light, stretched by the expansion of the universe. A photon that once blazed with heat, now stretched into cold, soft microwave hum. You wrap that thought around you like a blanket. Stretched light, not dead, just tired. Like a lullaby sung slower over time. You remember how expanding space doesn't pull light apart. It stretches its very wavelength. Redshift, they call it. And here, in the inky dark, everything is redshifted. Stars that once shone blue now hum in deeper tones. Galaxies retreat not because they flee, but because the universe itself is growing. Like bread rising in an oven, everything getting farther, just because everything is stretching. You feel no fear in this distance, only wonder. Because light doesn't resist being stretched. It adapts. It goes from gamma to ultraviolet, to visible, to infrared, to radio, and keeps going. It becomes invisible, but never meaningless. And maybe, you think, you are like that too. You change. Your energy shifts. Your brightness dims and returns. Your thoughts lengthen and soften with time. But you remain light, just stretched in a different season. You glance around the empty sky. There's a beauty here that's hard to explain. Nothing to distract you. Nothing to reflect. Just the raw hum of space and the long journey of tired photons. You picture them like fireflies, blinking slowly, their once bright glow now a memory of heat. You wonder how many pass through your body every second. Trillions, from every direction, from before the earth was born. Some bounce off, some pass through. Some stop, for just a moment, to warm your skin. You think of all the things they've passed before they reached you. Ancient stars, forgotten clouds, maybe a comet, maybe a dragonfly wing. And now your forehead, your palm, your quiet breath. You are a checkpoint on the road of light. And it doesn't even ask for thanks. You smile. Because in this vast, starless stretch, something gentle happens. You stop needing direction. You stop seeking brightness. You begin to rest within the dim. There's light here. Yes, but no pressure to chase it. No urgency to name it. Just a soft acknowledgement that it is. And so are you. You pull the blanket up a little higher. The silence folding in around you. Not empty. Not forgotten. Just vast enough to hold everything. Even you. Even sleep. Somewhere out there, a star is dying. Not violently, not yet. Right now, it's in its quiet decline, swelling gently into a red giant, breathing slower, turning light into memory. You float nearby, watching the slow exhale of photons drifting outward like sighs. The star isn't fighting, it's just transitioning, its core cooling, its outer layers loosening. It knows, in a way that stars seem to, that all light has a cycle. And you, silent companion, understand that feeling. Not everything has to burn forever. Sometimes, the glow changes shape. This dying star, this elder of the sky, is giving off a different kind of light now. Softer, redder, like candlelight at the end of a long evening. You watch the surface ripple and pulse. Each flicker is a message. Each photon released is not just heat, but story. Some of those photons will wander for billions of years before ever touching anything again. And some will disappear entirely absorbed by dust, swallowed by planets, pulled into shadows. But still, the star releases them, because that's what it does. You think of all the moments you've poured light into the world without knowing where it would land. A kind word, a laugh, a shared silence. Maybe some of them got absorbed, maybe some got lost, but some reached someone, maybe even when you didn't know they needed it, like this star. You didn't shine because you were being watched. You shone because that's who you were in that moment. And that was enough. You drift closer now, not afraid. The outer layers of the star are beginning to lift away, becoming a nebula, clouds of color that glow without shape. Light, becoming space. You think again about how stars create light, not by burning, but by fusing. Atoms pressed so tightly together that they combine and release energy, hydrogen into helium, simplicity into something slightly more complex. It's a process of pressure and patience. Just like you. You have been pressed, haven't you? By time, by responsibility, by love, by grief, and somehow, each time you were compressed, you became something new. Maybe you didn't notice it then. Maybe you don't even fully believe it now. But change, like fusion, happens whether or not you watch it. You reach out gently and let a soft red photon pass through your hand. It's cool now, not burning, but ancient. You wonder if this star will become a white dwarf, small, dense, and still glowing. Or perhaps it will collapse further, or maybe it will scatter completely, leaving only dust. And that dust might one day become a planet, a tree, a body, a thought. You smile, because you know now light never really ends. It just changes medium. It becomes color, then heat, then memory, then silence. You've seen it happen. In the fading glint in someone's eye as they fall asleep. In the afterglow of joy, long after the laughter ends. In the way certain places still feel warm, even when they're empty. That's light, lingering. You roll gently onto your back now. The stars are quieter, the space more muted. But you don't need brightness, not anymore. You understand that light doesn't need to be seen to be felt. It can be subtle, slow, stretched across time, just like you. You sigh long and low and feel the softness of sleep reaching for you. You are stardust, warmed by the glow of a universe that remembers. You are a photon released with no need for destination. You are warmth without reason. You are light, simply being. And tonight you rest. You're not sure when you got here. But now, you're standing on a beach. It's not Earth. though it feels familiar. The sand is soft. The horizon bends oddly, as if space itself has curled inward for a nap. And the ocean in front of you, it glows. Not from the moon, not from the sky, but from within. The waves roll slowly, and with each crest, they shimmer, not with color, not with sunlight, with bioluminescent light. Tiny creatures, invisible by day, now dance in pulses and sparks, painting the dark sea with their own language. You wade in, and each step glows, and suddenly, you remember light doesn't only come from stars, sometimes. Life makes its own: bacteria, jellyfish, fireflies, even fungi glowing on damp forest logs, living things, producing photons from chemical reactions deep within. No electricity, no sun, just biology, becoming visible. You smile. You think of your own body, how your cells generate heat, how your neurons spark, how your heart pulses with its own soft rhythm. Maybe you're glowing, too. Maybe we all are. Just beneath the skin. In fact, it's true. Your body emits tiny amounts of visible light, not enough for others to see, but it's there. Photons, escaping you, quietly. You are never truly in darkness. You sit at the edge of the glowing water and watch it curl toward your toes. Every movement creates more light, not because it's trying, but because that's what these creatures do. They glow when disturbed. You let that echo for a moment. They glow when disturbed, not when calm, not when resting, only when touched, when moved. There's something achingly familiar in that. How many times have you shone only in response to friction, to grief, to wonder, to the tap of the unexpected light, pulled from you life's currents, and yet it was yours all along. You swirl your hand in the water. It blooms with tiny stars, and in that moment, you feel less like a person and more like a ripple, a thing in motion, shaping light simply by existing. You think about animals that live in the darkest places, deep-sea fish, living miles beneath the surface. They've never seen the sun, and yet they shine, because where external light fails, internal light becomes necessity. That resonates with you, because you've had those seasons, haven't you? Where nothing from the outside helped, where warmth didn't come from the sun, but from something inside. A flicker, a stubbornness, a soft will to glow anyway. Bioluminescence isn't bright. It doesn't blind. It whispers. Maybe that's what you need tonight. Not a flash, not a blaze, just a low, quiet glow from the deep. You lie back on the sand now. The stars above are distant, but the ocean next to you glows with each breath of tide. You imagine your thoughts like tiny sea creatures, swimming quietly, each one trailing a soft spark. They don't shout. They don't demand. They just exist, softly illuminating the waters of your mind. And just like that, your body becomes a coastline, the edge where consciousness meets the dark. And the dark is not empty. It pulses. It glows. It remembers. You whisper to yourself, I am made of stars, but I carry my own light. And in that moment, even your exhale glows. You don't need to see it. You just need to know it's there. Because when life touches you, when it disturbs the calm surface of your days, you shine. Maybe not for others to notice, maybe not with color or heat, but with presence, with awareness, with that soft, stubborn shimmer of being alive. You close your eyes, the waves move gently, the light follows, and your sleep begins, not with a blackout, but with a bloom. You're floating again this time through a dream that feels like paper. Not real paper, but something like it. Soft, thin, light dappled around you. Pages drift through the air. They don't fall. They hover. Some are blank. Others shimmer faintly with diagrams, sketches, scribbles. You're in a notebook of ideas, and every idea here is made of light, not ink, not graphite, just gentle threads of glowing thought. You reach for one, and it curls toward your hand, flickering like an old film projector. And there it is, an image of a hologram, not a drawing, a real one, floating in the space above the page. It's strange seeing something with depth that isn't really there. You circle it slowly. A cup that doesn't cast a shadow, a face that disappears when viewed from the wrong side, a ghost made of light. You've seen holograms before on credit cards, on dusty science exhibits, but now, you're inside the idea of one, and you begin to understand. A hologram isn't just a picture, it's interference. It's what happens when two beams of laser light collide and leave a pattern, a memory of the object they touched. It doesn't record the surface, it records how the light moved around it. It records relationship, and somehow, that makes it feel more alive. You turn the page. Another image shimmers, a room, familiar, but when you try to walk into it, it disappears. It was only a pattern. You laugh softly, because how often have you walked into memories that weren't really there, just interference, just the echo of light paths that once crossed? You realize everything you see is already touched by interference. Every moment of clarity comes from two things colliding: thought and feeling, past and present, memory and light. You sit now in this notebook, among the floating pages, and wonder, are you a hologram, not in the science fiction sense, but in the sense that maybe you are more pattern than particle? Your voice, your shape, your stories, they're all made of light interacting with the world. And if someone shines the right kind of attention on you, you appear, not just as a surface, but with depth, even in memory. You linger. People replay the paths you took through their lives. They rotate your presence in their minds, like a hologram, real but untouchable. You let that settle. You turn another page. This time, it's a diagram of light, scattering photons, bouncing in different directions after hitting a rough surface. No reflection, no neat image, just fragments, like how a disco ball breaks light into sparks, like how water glitters without showing you anything specific. Sometimes, the message isn't in what's seen, but in what's felt. Scattered light isn't broken. It's everywhere. And so are you. You may not always be sharp. You may not always be coherent, like a laser, but you're still shining. You're just scattered through 100 little things, a text you forgot to reply to, a smell that reminds someone of you, a laugh someone still hears when they think of that one afternoon. Light doesn't have to be focused to matter. Scattered light is how we survive fog, how we see the sky, how we know the world still holds shimmer, even when it rains. You lie back, letting the notebook pages drift above you, each one a concept, a question, a flicker of understanding. You see a note, written in familiar handwriting. Light is never lost, only hidden. You close your eyes. You don't need to read anymore tonight. You've already remembered something important. that you are light, shaped by interaction, recorded in memory, flickering in someone's mind. Somewhere, even when you sleep, your light travels, not in lines, but in ripples, in interference patterns, in scattered brilliance. You breathe, in, out, flicker, fade, and dream. Now. The air around you feels older, not heavy but ancient, like breath exhaled by time itself. You're drifting through a museum with no walls, no ceilings, no labels, just light. Each beam, each flicker, each glow you pass is not a display, but a relic. A piece of light that left its home long, long ago, and has been traveling ever since. Starlight. You reach toward a particularly golden thread. It shivers as you touch it warm. Worn. Impossibly old. It left its galaxy before your ancestors ever looked up. Before there was Earth. Maybe. You didn't notice it when it arrived. None of us do. But it did. And now, so gently, it folds into you. No ceremony, no announcement, just a quiet arrival. This is how we see stars. By catching their traveling light, you pass another thread. Bluish this time. Sharper. It came from a younger star, hotter, brighter, more urgent. And another, a reddish glow. Tired, stretched. It's been flying for so long that the universe itself has expanded beneath it. Redshift. You know this now. The farther light travels, the more space pulls it apart, and yet it keeps going. You pause near a wall that isn't there and gaze out at a dot in the distance. That dot, it's a galaxy, billions of stars, dancing together in slow spirals. But to you, it's a speck, because light only travels so fast, and distance stretches truth. The galaxy you see is not what it is, it's what it was. Maybe it doesn't even exist anymore. Maybe it exploded, or faded, or became something else entirely. But the light is still arriving. You breathe in. You realize your eyes are time machines. Everything you see is the past, even now, and somehow, that makes the present feel more tender. Because you know what touches you took effort to arrive, and what you send out may take time to be received. A smile today might not matter until years from now. A kindness you forgot might still be arriving in someone's heart. You drift further through the museum of light. Now you see faster things, gamma rays from a supernova. They flick past like sparks. Dangerous, powerful, short-lived. You duck, even though they won't touch you here. And then a burst of ultraviolet, invisible to your eyes but still humming through your bones. It makes your skin remember the sun. You smile, because this place, this space, this dream, it's a reminder that even in silence, there's motion. Even in darkness, there's travel. You think of the light from a candle in a window. So soft, so local. But it goes. It leaves. It travels outward. Through air, through night, past trees and windows and clouds. Some of it may go on forever, past the solar system, into the void, becoming one more thread in this endless museum. You glance back now, at Earth, so far behind you, still glowing. And you understand, we don't lose light. We release it, every lamp, every star, every memory. You picture yourself holding a tiny box. Inside it, a single photon, It pulses faintly, eager to leave. You open the lid, and with no sound, no force, it goes. That's it, the whole act. Letting go, letting light travel. You lie down again. There's no gravity here, no edge. Just stars behind stars behind stars. Each one older than the last. Each one still speaking in silence. You are in the presence of time itself, softened by the voice of photons. They do not rush. They do not tire. And neither must you. Tonight, let your own light soften. Let your breath slow. Let whatever thoughts still pulse in your mind stretch and fade, like red-shifted stars. And know even now, you are traveling, even now. You are glowing, even now. You are arriving somewhere, gently, as light. You are moving again, but not forward, not backward. This time, you're circling, around a memory, around a question, around the idea that maybe everything is light, pretending to be something else. You find yourself under a lamp now, not a cosmic one, but a very ordinary bulb. It hums faintly. The kind of lamp that hums even when it's not supposed to. You know the kind. You're sitting at a table, late at night. There's a cup, a book, and this simple, yellow glow. Nothing fancy. No lasers. No gamma rays. Just light. Domestic. Forgotten. Taken for granted light. And that's the magic of it. Because this glow, this soft, artificial beam isn't natural. It didn't come from stars. It came from wires, from filaments or diodes, from electrons jostled into motion. It's light we made. You feel something warm in that. We didn't just wait for the sun. We built a second sunrise, a smaller one, a quieter one, but still enough to read by, enough to sit with your thoughts, enough to not feel alone. You glance at the bulb and think every time you turn one on, you're creating photons. That should feel bigger than it does, because a photon doesn't age. Once created, it just is. No decay, no erosion, just motion until it hits something and becomes heat, or disappears into an eye. You wonder how many photons you've made in your life, from lamps, from candles, from lighters flicked in nervous hands. And not just physical light, metaphorical, too. Moments when you offered someone comfort, insight, pause, tiny lights, lit without ceremony. You think again about the book on the table. Its pages reflect the light, sending it back to your eyes, letting you read. And reading itself, what is that if not catching photons shaped by ink? Even knowledge is filtered light. The stories we pass down are shadows printed by language. You turn a page. The shadow moves. The light catches up. You remember being a child, reading under blankets, flashlight clutched in small hands. You weren't just reading, you were hiding and revealing at once. You were choosing to make your own glow. And now, you do it in other ways. You create light when you forgive someone, when you laugh during difficulty, when you say, "I'm here," and mean it. And sometimes when you let someone else shine, even as you rest. The lamp buzzes again. You chuckle softly. Old light, imperfect light, but still useful. You imagine the room without it. Just black shapes, unread pages, unfelt warmth. And you understand it doesn't take much to change the world. Just one small bulb, just one breath of energy made visible. You lie back. You think of the phrase "a light in the dark." It's used often, too often, maybe. But now you see it differently, not as rescue, not as miracle, but as presence, a sign that something still hums, still glows, still waits for you to look its way. You don't need a galaxy. You don't need a solar flare. Just this lamp, this breath, this simple moment where you are safe and lit and tired. You let your eyes close. Just for a second, the light remains. It brushes your eyelids with warmth. It doesn't mind that you're not looking, because that's the thing about light. It doesn't need you to pay attention. It just gives. And when it fades into memory, not into nothing. You carry it. You always have. Tonight, the photons from this small lamp might strike the wall and bounce once, maybe twice. But a few will land softly on your face and rest there, quietly, like an old friend saying goodnight without needing to say anything at all. You're sinking now, deeper than before, not into darkness, not into nothingness, but into softness, the softness of light slowing down. You remember that light never stops moving, not ever, but it can slow. From the blinding speed of space to the hesitant crawl through glass. Tonight, you feel that slow pace, a velvet lull. Light inside your room bends and pools like water in a quiet basin. It slows to the pace of breath, of heartbeats, of sleep. You imagine yourself a photon caught in this gentle trap, gliding lazily, hesitating over every surface, drifting through the fabric of dreams. You realize something remarkable. Even when light slows, it doesn't lose its essence. It doesn't dim. It just becomes something softer, something closer, something you can hold on to as you fall, as your thoughts fade to whispers. As the world blurs and bends, you lie still, you breathe slow. You feel the warmth of slowed light pooling beneath your skin. Maybe this is what rest is, a slowing of light, a folding of time, a gentle surrender. And maybe this universe you live in is itself a beam of light, bent and slowed, playing tricks on you. Maybe the line between particle and wave is not a limit, but an invitation to be both, to be fluid and solid, to be visible and invisible, to be awake and asleep. You smile, because maybe, just maybe, this light that carries you now, this light that flows through everything, is saying, I'm here, I'm with you, I'll guide you gently, until the morning. You close your eyes fully now, and in the quiet that follows, light slows one last time. A soft pulse, a final shimmer, a whisper of existence, and then peace.